Have you ever heard of the 1-minute promise? It's a special negotiating ploy or technique between I now and I next. I now is the part of yourself that wants to just feel good now. I next is the part of yourself that wants to get things done later or feel good later. And often there can be a conflict between these two. I used to have a client, actually my longest running client for 9 years in Phoenix, Arizona. He was a very successful lawyer, and he had many cases he was always working on, but there would be that one case that was maybe the most important or that was giving him the most anxiety, and he would tend to avoid that case. But what he did, he made, in this case, a 30-second promise. 30-minute promise, so that he knew he couldn't get a lot done on the case in 30 minutes, but his promise was every morning he was in the office, he would spend a minimum of 30 minutes on the case that was giving him the most anxiety. And he knew that once he got into it, that the I now part of him would get engaged enough so that he would keep going and probably work 2 or 3 hours on it and get a lot done. However, if he said to himself, well, I'm going to work 2 or 3 hours, he knew the I now part of him would say, no, it just seems too much, too difficult, you know? So it's sort of, in a certain way, he sort of tricked himself. But it was really a negotiation between the I now part of him and the I next part. So the I now was willing to do it. And if he only spent 30 minutes and said, okay, it could be, that's enough. He felt like he spent 30 minutes and that would be okay for both the I now and the I next. But often he found he was willing to do more. So I call this the 1-minute promise. It could be the 5-minute promise, the 10-minute promise, or in this case, the 30-minute promise. You have to decide what's appropriate in a given situation. But let's imagine you want to exercise, but just promising 30 minutes of exercise or an hour of exercise, it just seems too much. But I'd say, okay, I'll just do 1 minute of exercise. And after 1 minute, you have the option to stop or continue to go. And very often you'll continue going. So it could be 5 minutes of exercise, or 5 minutes of meditating, or 5 minutes of working on this project or that project. And once you get going, then it's much more likely to go further. But if you still want to stop at 5 minutes, then it's okay. And you feel like you've kept your promise. So try this out. I call it the 1-minute promise.